and a good evening to everyone who's going to watch it in the evening and live perhaps. And today we are going to discuss this question that my mentee and my ex-student, she asked me early in the morning and she reminded me a number of times that, ma'am, if you could just find some time to answer this. And I thought instead of answering it personally to her, why not bring it out in the open? The question is, she writes, a genuine question in my mind, ma'am, if you could respond. Are Indian marriages really happy? And especially for women. It's just out of curiosity that she wanted to know. Okay. So before we get into understanding that, is the marriage happy, not happy, especially for women, let's just define a few things. Okay. First of all, define happiness. Okay, what do you mean by happiness? You need to really write that down. Now, for a lot of us, especially in the age that she's in her early 20s, okay, perhaps 22, 23, something like that. What does happiness actually mean for you? Perhaps in that time, happiness related to a relationship means romance. Okay, romance. I'm not talking about her particularly, but I'm talking about any person who is in that particular age, like adolescence or teenage, how we simply kind of relate relationships as what in our lives. It's much later when the marriage starts failing or when your connection starts giving you different levels of frustrations that you start realizing that perhaps marriages are much more than we ever thought of, right? You talk about marriage to a person and they'll start shying away, they'll start blushing. Oh God, you're talking about marriage. And why is that so? Because probably people think of marriage as physical intimacy. That's a very, very small part of marriage. So you first need to define what is happiness. Only then can you answer the question whether marriage brings about happiness or not. So if I have to define happiness, for me, happiness would be the idea of being myself. Okay, because I have seen the opposite. I have been in a relationship where I was far from being what I actually am. Okay, so I could not be expressive, and I'm just the opposite. I'm very, very expressive. I like writing poems. I like singing songs. I like speaking a lot and learning a lot of things. And I was just precisely the opposite. So your happiness needs to be defined before you think of whether I should enter this relationship or not. So happiness may be, for young people, happiness may be romance. Okay. Unfortunately, the Bollywood has done a lot of disaster in terms of the thinking patterns of young people. And I was one of them quite a number of years ago, because in the 1990s, it meant that there's one girl, the guy likes this girl, and then the guy involves all his other friends to be able to tell that girl that I like you or I love you or whatever it is, or I'm like quite fascinated towards you. But that's not romance. That is actually harassment. So a lot of things need to be defined, to be clarified in your mind. And we need to move beyond the idea of romance. Okay, because, okay, let's say you have romance. Now that time period ends. You cannot stay attracted to someone on physical level also all your life. You need to have that aspect of that person which goes beyond physical intimacy. Okay, and which may be into intellectual intimacy, which may be into spiritual intimacy, which may be into being capable of sitting together and chatting. Do you find that kind of happiness in talking with each other? Okay, when you two sit together, are you able to laugh together, or are you able to share the darkest secret of your life, or are you able to share something which is like really sad in your life? Are you able to make meaningful conversations, or are you just people who are talking on the surface? Okay, so happiness needs to be questioned. Happiness in a relationship, what does it mean for you? Okay, so first you define happiness, and in all the so-called manifestation techniques, manifesting a good relationship and stuff like that, or finding the right man for you, or finding the right woman for you, they'll always ask you to make a list of the qualities that you're looking forward in that person. And because she happens to be a young mentee, my student. I think I was teaching her 6 years ago. So she's still young. She was in class 12th at that point of time. So unfortunately, in that age, and not only just that age, when I was I was a school teacher till last year. And when I would ask my colleagues, like the younger colleagues, that, okay, what are you looking forward to in a man? The thing was, I prefer a dark, tall, handsome guy who is particularly an engineer. That's something so hollow. Not that I'm trying to comment on them. I was once there myself. So for me, it meant an engineer and tall guy and, things like that. But that's not something which can guarantee your contentment, happiness, and love. So you need to make a real list of those capabilities in your partner which you would prefer to have in the relationship. So those capabilities would be something like he should respect you or she should respect you. He or she should be able to understand you inside out. Okay. Then perhaps things like a good listener. And when people are good listeners, a person who's a good listener, then that person may prefer to have someone who initiates conversation. Like I have number of my friends who are all good listeners, okay? And they are the ones who call me up because I like to speak a lot, okay? You can, I'm sure you can find that out from my videos. So I like to speak a lot and I cannot be with a person, like you got to understand your own personality type. I cannot be with a person who chit chats too much, okay? So you got to make a list of all those qualities that you would prefer in your partner, okay? So then you are defining all these things I'm looking forward to, in a man or a woman, okay? So then you have defined happiness. That's one aspect of the questions she had asked. Are marriages happy or Indian marriages, she said, especially. Then coming to the next part of it is, what is marriage? How is marriage looked up to, or what do we understand of marriage? Ideally, marriage is a place where two people come together to live with each other, okay, supposedly for a lifetime. And within Hinduism, it's like Saat Janmo Ka Bandhan. And as a past life regression therapist, I can tell you that marriage is much more than Saat Janam, okay? Marriage can be between karmics. Most of the times, most of the marriages happen between karmic partners. So your worst enemy or with someone whom you've actually led a lifetime earlier and you have given pain to that person is going to get another opportunity to give you pain or to balance your karma, okay? So marriage is more than Saat Janam and marriage is more than what we think of, okay? It can also be between soulmates and so the soulmates, then it's going to be a little, on a lighter note, it's going to be a happy connection. So when you talk about marriage, it's two people coming together to live life with each other, which means, like, let's say I'm living a life alone and I'm like enjoying everything I want to do. If right now I decide to go and watch a movie with my kids, that's my decision. Because I'm handling my life singly and my kids are really young. They do not have a separate life of their own. But when you live with a person, you got to make all your decisions according to that person. Okay. And in the typical Indian marriages, when you live with a person, you also live with a person's family. Okay. So your decisions get guided not just by the other person, but also by that other person's family, especially for the woman. So when you ask this question now, are Indian marriages really happy? For women, there is no yes or no. Okay. So a lot of women like me, what they have done with the marriage is, we have genuinely tried to surrender ourselves into marriage. Okay. Like most of the girls, initially I thought I was a fool. Like initially in the sense when I overcame my marriage, I thought I was a fool because I surrendered myself into something where only I was surrendering. But that's how women are brought up. Women are conditioned into believing that, okay, you don't have a life. This is not your house. Excuse me? This is not your house. You're born here, but you're going to go to another person's house. When you go to another person's house, that another person will keep reminding you that this is not your father's house. Okay? So you got to understand this dynamics. Now, what happens with more number of women, because we are conditioned into this typical good girl types, we are asked to, accept the situation and be happy and allow the other person to lead. This is a big time gamble because, most of the times the other person is not a great person at all. The other person is not a person who is a leader. Okay. Now, a great man who actually has a capability to be a leader is going to lead the family into happiness. Okay. He would understand that this woman has come from another house, leaving behind her parents. Okay. And also compromising on her career, because as easy as it can be for a man, it's not as easy for a woman to manage a career after marriage, right? Because you go inside a house and then you have to take care of the old people. If there are I don't know, there Nand and Devar and all those people, you have to take care of them as well. And just apart from that, you got to, give birth to the child also, in which unfortunately the man has like 0.0001% of contribution, because it's your body that's going to be sacrificed. Okay. So you got to understand all these dynamics before making the decision of marriage, which brings me close to another question which a lot of my female mentees had asked me. Was this article of Miss Uma, I'm forgetting this lady's name, Miss Uma Shankar, I believe. She wrote an article which was cause of a huge debate, I think 3 months ago. She said that the modern women of the present era don't want to opt for marriage at all. Okay. And this great debate happened, and people were asking, women are becoming they are becoming too modern, they're becoming feminazi, and feminism is a bull, whatever, BS. Feminism is BS, and women are becoming everything that they should not become, right? This entire question came up that when women said we don't want to get married, they were totally misinterpreted as, they are not in favor of settling down. Let me tell you, each and every woman, one of the prime dreams of every girl, that includes me and that includes all the other intellectual girls, the most ambitious of women on this earth, the prime dream of every woman since childhood is to be able to nurture a family. Okay. To be able to have a house, to be able to have a husband who loves her, to be able to have kids whom she gives birth. Most of the women, 99% of the women, would agree that this was a prime dream. Now, if these women grew up to say that I don't want to get married, there must be some reason behind it. Okay. So, and everyone wants stability in their life. So if women are saying that we don't want to get married, there must be some strong reason. And the entire idea that people are not understanding why are they saying that. And this question is not just asked by, men, it's also asked by women, these typical ladies, even of my age and older than me. Okay, so I am also an old lady now, a 40-year-old, but ladies who are older than me, like perhaps 60-year-old, I've heard them speak that aaj ki ladkiyan to, have you understood what has been happening for centuries? You've just overlooked, those things completely. Before entering into that domain of questioning that, I'd rather want you to think about these two terms. As an English teacher, I'd always talked about these two terms in my classes, and it was gender and sex. Gender and sex. Sex means biological differences between a man and a woman. When a child is born, you come to know that there is a different body part that the boy carries and a different body part that the girl carries. Okay, that's the difference that God has created. Now, a girl grows up differently, a boy grows up differently. Okay, emotionally the girl may be different, and so bodily they are different. But if you want to run an equal society, you got to run an equal society only when you give equal opportunities. When I or a feminist, any other feminist, like I am also a feminist, when we say that we need equality, we are not asking you to start matriarchy. There's a difference between matriarchy and feminism. Matriarchy is the opposite of patriarchy, that women start ruling. We are not asking for that. We are asking that women be treated like human beings. And I'm sure at this point of time, some people who are like innately patriarchal would hate me to the core. I think, what is she trying to say? Oh, she's trying to be very smart. She's using English to manipulate, right? But the reality is, forget about this gender of women, okay? Think about it. Like, there is a person, you are that person, okay? You are born and brought up to be a person who listens to everyone, conditioned to cook food, and conditioned to listen to criticism, and you have like spent a lot of time in your parents' house. You've studied a lot, as much as any other person. You have, your parents have spent as much money on your career, and then after marriage, you have to leave your parents' house. Forget about, I'm talking about women. No, think about yourself. Whoever you are. If you're a man, think about as a man only. If you're a woman, then you know that it's about women. After marriage, you have to forget about your parents. Like, you can meet them sometime. And then go and live in the other person's house. And whatever he asks you to do, you've got to do. And you have to serve their parents like your own parents. And then your career also depends on the decision making of your spouse. And then when the child is about to happen, it's your body total on which you had a lot of pride that I have a certain figure. It goes for a toss. Okay. And after that, you give birth to the child. If you give birth normally, it's like 21 bones breaking. Okay. If you give birth through a C-section, it's a major surgery. Let me tell you, it's a life and death kind of a major surgery. And after you give birth, you have no idea of what postpartum depression means. Like the next 2-3 months, you are in high level of depression. Your hormones have gone down. Most of the, aspects of your body have been like destroyed. I would not say destroyed, but major levels of calcium, vitamins and everything goes out from the woman's body to the child. Everyone cares for the child. No one cares for the woman. Okay. The child is not going to sleep at night for 1 month at least. And still you have to take care of the child. Forget about your own body. That's the first 3 months. You are looking ugly, quote unquote ugly, from the perspective of the society. Maybe your husband will also tell you that you rather lose weight, or, I might have to look at other women. And that weight keeps coming back because life changes in a way that you can never imagine. Once you've given birth to a child, your body goes for a toss. Okay. And the child grows up. The entire emotional responsibility of the child is yours. You have no idea of what emotional responsibility means. How the child studies, does not study, whatever the child does, everyone says, "Maa kuch nahi sikhai hai." Okay. So if you were to face the situation, you would not be happy. Unfortunately, what the world wants to look at presently is 2-3 things. Okay. One, that the law is in favor of women. And there are fake cases. How many fake cases? How many fake cases do you have? And how many real cases? And how many real cases that should have been cases and are not cases? 60% of the Indian population lives in the village still. Okay? You cannot even imagine what the villages are undergoing. And I am one of the most educated women living in Delhi NCR. Okay? And I'm still telling you that story. So you can understand that what you think versus what the reality is, there's a huge, huge difference, and there's a huge, huge gap to be able to live that reality, right? Then another thing, people will say that, when you talk about all these things, that ye sari jo feminist log hai, aise. I remember in one of the movies they said ki aap raat mein aap bhi jate ho party karne, and then ye sab ho jata hai to aap log complain karte ho and things like that. So you allow your men to go out at 12 o'clock also, but you don't allow your women to move out at 9 o'clock also. There's a huge difference. Please get into different structures, different data. Everything is available if you want to find out. Okay. So coming back to, the entire idea of marriage, happiness, if you talk about Indian marriages, they are not actually what we think of them to be. Even when marriages are happening, let's think about a normal marriage, how it happens. So, in Times of India, there is a section called matrimonial section. Tall, gory, convent educated was something in my time, and I think at that point of time I ticked all these, and consequently people thought that iske maa baap ko problem kam hoga. That's the way we look at people. Like I just said that, IITian, tall and dark and whatever, handsome. This is how we are looking at people, like some product that, I need my Maggie to be more masala and spicy and things like that. That is how we look at marriage, and then we expect there to be happiness. And versus the fact that love marriages are still unacceptable in most parts of the society. Let me also question the concept of love marriage. What is love marriage? In my own time, I've seen many of my friends and relatives and cousins picking up guys in marriage. Okay, like picking up in the sense that, TK, he's from my community and he's like 2 years older to me. So then the parents will agree that is not love. Sorry. Love is not something that you decide ki isko, let's get hold of this person and let's get, into love with this person. Love just happens. And love will happen when you will least expect it. And love can be the cause of trauma, and love can be the cause of a high level tragedy. Right? So, what is marriage? Coming back to the concept of marriage. And my answer would be like, if you talk from my sense, the way Indian marriages are happening, they're not happy places. They are not happy places at all. And some people will go on to the level, I'm sure if I was, live with a huge audience and there'll be some like very idiotic characters, then some of them will say, oh, then you support, what do you call it? Living with each other, live in relationships before marriage and things like that. Live-in is not a great idea also. Let me tell you that. Live-in is again a high level of, there's a huge level of disadvantage in live-in as well for both men and women. Okay, and that is another topic to be discussed later. So, gender versus sex. Sex says that she is a woman. Okay, gender says that she is a lady. So, the difference between a woman and a lady is that the lady is going to wear a certain kind of clothes. Like a lot of people had misconceptions about me because I wore sari, so they thought that she's very classical. And she must be having those ideas like, so I do a lot of things which are classically accepted. Maybe I pray a lot. I go to temple every day. Maybe I wear saris. Maybe I like jewelry a lot. But that does not change my mindset. Okay. So unfortunately, we relate these things with, the mindset also. So gender and sex, you need to understand where are you. And I think I answered the question, why are women not wanting to get married? If you get married, hi Tanish. Okay, so why are women not wanting to get married today? Because they have understood what probably the women earlier were not understanding or were understanding but still keeping quiet. There were different property rights. At a point of time, women were not given voting rights. Okay, you talk about so many prathas. You talk about the sati pratha. So you know already that women were treated like objects, okay? So, of course, we have come a long way from that and it's still a battle, but the battle is still going on. What will happen when women will deny marriage? What actually the good thing that will come out of it is that those men who are not ready to give in their best in marriage will have to change. Now, those men who understand that marriage means love and I have to respect this lady who's my wife, they will any day find, someone to live with. Okay. They will definitely find the love of their life. But what about those men in my time, who thought ki, becoming an engineer is enough. And maybe they're not even as intelligent as the girl they're getting married to. So that would change. It will put some responsibility on the head of men and men's parents. By the way, I have 2 sons. Okay. And I still support it. So the idea that boys' parents will also understand that only by virtue of giving birth to the boy, you don't own the dowry and the girl as a slave. That's what's going to change with challenging the concept of marriage. Because marriage needs to be a companionship. Marriage is not where one is a master and the other one is a slave. So, women are questioning the concept of marriage or entering into marriage because there are overwhelming responsibilities. You get up early in the morning, you cook for everyone, you get the maid to clean the house or you clean the house yourself. Then, you pack the lunch for your kids and then you go to your own work and then you come back and then, cook the leftover food and then give tea to everyone who has to eat which medicine. And then on top of that, there'll be people who are going to question you then also. She's not doing work properly. Okay. And there is no independence. Men go out when, if you go out on a holiday, I always say that, when women go out on a holiday with the family, that's hardly a holiday. Because it's just like you're doing the same responsibilities out of house. Right? Because if you go out, like I have always seen this, particular scenario in marriages when I was young, that, like let's say Bharat Lagana and things like that. And then I would see all my aunties ready in unpacking things, giving it to their husband, giving it to the children. Uska baal theek se jhaadna hai, and towards the end they'll just find a lipstick and do whatever. I'm sure things are changing to an extent that women are now getting the opportunity to go to parlor and stuff. And there are modifications. I'm not saying that it's as dark as ever, but we are still work in progress. Okay. On top of that, you will get more people not understanding you. That may be your mother also, your mother-in-law definitely most of the times, and your own sons may not understand you. I'm just trying to say that unfortunately we have not brought up our kids in a way to make them understand the scenario well. Like I found this guy on internet only on Instagram. There was this reel in which he said that we are told since birth you are born alone and you are going to die alone. The reality is not that you're born alone. No one is born alone in the sense that your mother is facing all the pain along with you while you're being born. She's already faced 9 months of pain and now she's going to give birth to you. You're not born alone. Thank you so much. So you're not born alone. Your mother has taken more stress, and she has delivered well. You're not born alone. You definitely die alone because your mother is not there at that time. Because if the mother was there at that time, then she would do something extraordinary then also. Okay. So, and even if law appears to be in favor, a lot of people talk about this, oh, the law is in favor of women. I don't know how much it is in favor of women, because the lawmakers are different people and the people who run law are different people. You'll find a lot of male lawyers still, okay? And you go to the courts. If you've been to the courts, well, I've been to the courts. You go there is a high level of patriarchy running in the courts, okay? So the mindset of the society has still not changed. You find a divorced man, the divorced man will move around. No one is going to ask the divorced man. But if a woman moves alone, she has to move with the kids. Most of the time, the kids are with the woman. And then a lot of people in the society are going to wonder, where is her husband? No one asks the man that, where is your wife? But most of the people ask the woman, where's your husband? Or, even still wonder कि इसी की कोई गलती होगी, ये लड़की की कोई गलती होगी, ये तो character ऐसे, and unfortunately, you have to become that person to know how much pain does a divorced woman undergo. What kind of judgment is she undergoing? She has to be a very, very strong personality to be there. Even outside marriage is not so easy. Okay? And there are multiple levels of abuse inside the marriage. No one is talking about that. I'm not just talking about physical abuse. Physical abuse is like, we know that it's all there in a lot of marriages, but emotional abuse. You are not independent yourself. That's high level of abuse. You're not being allowed to take, use your own rights. And a lot of women are not even using their own salaries. Please come down to, don't look at your Bua ji and your Mami ji. And this is not the entire world. I'm talking from data. Okay, and I have already mentioned that 60% of the population of India still lives in the villages. Be mindful of that. Okay, and so like many people ki aajkal ki auratein, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata is not, and Kolkata, let me not talk about Kolkata only. This is not the entire India. Okay. So, and any man or any woman who says all these kind of things that, women are not suffering at all, they are making men suffer, let me tell you, are not sensitive and intelligent enough. You are highly biased and prejudiced. You know what happens? As an English teacher in the past 10-12 years in school and college, whenever I've asked students to write their debate, what I asked them to do was to understand the topic from both the sides. Like, let's say there is a topic like artificial intelligence is going to take up humanity. Okay, it's going to control humanity in the next 10 years or something of that sort. Then I would ask a student to go and find out the for as well as the against. Okay, even if the child is saying just for, you must know the points and against so that you can counteract. But your mind, all those people who are saying that women are not suffering and women are becoming this, women are becoming that, you lack sensitivity and intelligence both. Because you are just being that debater who has not seen the opposite side. You are that debater who goes and finds out, who have decided ki for mein bolna hai, so you're going to find out 4 points only. Okay, so intelligent men, logical men, men who are emotional, men who are spiritual, men who are sensible, okay, will be able to understand women's problems and even women. Unfortunately, there are a lot of women who run the race of competition. I am a better woman. Okay, and they are doing a lot of um, disservice to the women's community. And I would want to end this with asking you to compare the life of Lord Shiva and Ma Parvati. If you know anything about Lord Shiva and Ma Parvati, you must know that when Ma Parvati comes into her what do you say, the Raudra Roop, when she's like highly angry. By the way, Ma Durga or Ma Kali is the woman's incarnation that deals with the worst kind of Daitya or Rakshasas, okay? When it turns extreme and the gods are not able to handle these people, then they call upon Ma Kali. They call upon Shakti, okay? So when they call upon Ma Shakti, like, Ma Kali in that situation, she's not able to, once she is done with it, she has gone so much out of her equilibrium or calmness or the balance. Lord Shiva comes to revive her. Very, very cute and beautiful love story of Lord Shiva and Ma Parvati. One of them being that, when she was not being in control, she was not listening to everyone, and she was out there to create more and more destruction. He lied down right in front of her. And when she was walking, she kept her leg on Lord Shiva, and then she realized that this is my twin flame, this is my husband. What am I doing? And then she comes back, she revives. In another situation, she's not listening to him at all. Then he transforms himself into a child, Batuk Bhairav form. Okay, and he starts crying. When he starts crying, Ma Kali looks at the child crying, and then her, motherhood instincts come back. Okay, and then she goes and loves this child, and then she becomes Ma Parvati again. So look at the dynamics of these two people. They totally understand each other. That is the actual dynamic between a husband and a wife that should be. You should accept each other as you are, not accept what the social roles are. I am the man. I may be totally scared of the outside world, but I'll ensure that I'm going to keep my wife scared of me. That's not the husband's role. Okay? If you want to be a good husband and a wife, then you've got to be a person who accepts each other as you are. And because a woman gives birth to the child, that's something that the man cannot take over from the wife. The man got to be the financial provider. That's my idea of justice. The man got to be the financial provider, because a woman any day will be giving birth to the child. Okay, so I think I'm hoping that I've been able to answer the question. The genuine question was, are Indian marriages really happy? I'd say most of them are not, but I still have a sparkling hope, that there are marriages, and I have literally seen myself that there are marriages that not just survive, but they thrive, because both of these people understand each other. And coming to a pinch of logicality for women, because she asked, for women, is it a happy place? You got to understand that men are not what women are, and women are not what men are. Okay? Men are very different. I've always been in a girls' institution, and I have taken up courses where I only made female friends. So I did not much understand boys or men. Okay? So it took me a long time to understand that men are very different. Men are not that chatty. Okay? Some men may be chatty, I don't know. But, your friends are, your husband may not be like that at all. But what you got to see is, are the two of you ready to put in that kind of effort to be with each other? Okay? Is there some level of compatibility? And more than compatibility, is there that level of intention to, have the marriage not just surviving but thriving? That is what is required. Okay? Is there that level of respect, that level of love? And when I talk about love, then I will tell you that you cannot create love. Let me be very, very clear on that. And that sounds something outside the society. And let it be outside the society, because I'm a poet and a writer. You cannot imagine and create love for a person for whom you don't have. And, when Mr. Ratan Tata died, that was one of the things from his life. I was just wondering that he had a quality. He didn't marry anyone. Not that he was not looking for someone, but he had a quality that I'm going to settle down with a person whom I really love. okay, or with whom I match. That's also one thing, okay. So what I was trying to say was that passion and love cannot be created, okay. So you got to experience and be honest with yourself, with this person, in the courtship period itself, that do I really like being with this person, or am I going out to pretend? Most of the marriages are pretension of the girl to be that, like, really feminine type, and always dressing up, even though after marriage she's just going to be like whatever she wanted, and the guy being that hero type, very romantic. And one of the guidances I would want to give women is that, give the girls especially, if he is very confident with you, he is not in love with you. Because when a guy is in love, he cannot be confident, he's got to be scared, okay. So that's something you got to catch up. If he's trying to be very smart with you on the very second day and proposing you and saying I love you and you are my girl and things like that, on the second, third day, if he's not awkward with you in the beginning, he does not mean the relationship. He just means the formality of being in the relationship. He's not feeling it. That's it for today. If there are any questions, please do ask on my personal number or on DM. Signing off, Aishwarya Sinha. Thank you. Namaste.